What's up, guys? Justin here with the RenderingEssentials.com. So massive news this week as Twinmotion rolled out the official release of the 2022 version. This is a massive release that contains a number of new features that really change the quality of renders that you can create inside of Twinmotion. So let's take a look at what's been added. So full release notes have been placed on the Twinmotion.Epic Games website. I will link to this in the notes down below, but I wanted to hit a couple of the high points on this release. So first off, massive new integration inside of Twinmotion 2022, the Path Tracer. So what the Path Tracer does is it's basically a tool that's designed to help you more realistically calculate the way that light bounces inside of Twinmotion. Right, so the way the Path Tracer works is you can fly around and set up your views inside of Twinmotion like this, so just like you would anywhere else. But then the way that it works is there's a button right here to take you into path tracing mode. And so when you go into path tracing mode, what this is going to do is this is going to basically path trace or render out your image. So what it's doing is it's calculating the way that the light bounces inside of this scene. And so what it's going to do is it's going to go through and it's going to calculate this, and you're going to get a much more realistic lighting result than you would have gotten otherwise inside of your scene. And so you can see how this takes a lot longer because it's doing more complex calculations with the way that your light bounces. You can adjust the number of samples, the max number of bounces of light, as well as if there's denoising or not in your scene. And so if you look at this final result, you can see that you're getting light bouncing off of your surfaces. You're getting more realistic reflections off of objects inside of your scene. It's just a higher quality render. So this is basically set up where you can create these, and within your actual final views, so if you look in your media right here, notice how there's images in here that are both real-time images, right? And the quality of the real-time images is pretty good. Or you can also set up images that are path traced images. So that way you can preset these different views. So notice if you click to this one, for example, it's going to do the path tracing. However, if you do this one right here, it's going to be the real time. So it allows you to switch back and forth really quickly between those. This gives you a lot of options inside of Twinmotion for how you can create these results, and they're looking really great. And so note that there are some limitations on your graphics card that you need to look at in order to know if this is going to work for you. So for example, this requires DirectX 12. It requires a GPU that supports DirectX ray tracing. So your graphics card needs to support ray tracing in order for this to work. This is currently not supported on Mac OS. And notice that there are some features that only work in the real-time mode that don't necessarily work in the path tracing mode. So make sure that you review these requirements to make sure that your graphics card is going to be able to run this new version, or that at least it's going to be able to run the ray tracing. I think if your graphics card isn't good enough, it just grays out the ray tracing option. So the other massive change that's been added is the HDRI Skydome. So previously you were really limited on the backgrounds inside of Twinmotion, but now you have the ability to actually bring in HDRI Skydomes in order to change the way the sky looks in the background. This is a massive change that really makes a huge difference on the kind of results you can create. So we're going to quit our media mode, and then we're going to jump over into our lighting. We're going to turn Skydome on. Notice how when you turn your Skydome on, you can click on the More button, and you can actually adjust the Skydome inside of your scene. Notice what that means is that means you can actually like adjust and rotate your Skydome in here. And notice that your lighting is going to change along with that. So there's also a library of Skydomes that you can bring in. So for example, if we were to click on Noon, Cloudy, I've already downloaded one, but you can basically just click and drag these into your scene like this, and it's going to put your new Skydome in here. So you can bring in these different Skydomes and then rotate them in order to create a much more realistic view or lighting inside of Twinmotion. And so again, notice with that Skydome, it's also affecting, so you're able to see the reflections that are in here, but you can also see the shadows that are cast by the trees, for example. And you can adjust the brightness of the Skydome using the intensity function right here. So this gives you a lot of control over the final result that you can create, and it makes a massive difference in the final results of the renders inside of your scene as well. So I have not had a chance to test this, but they've added they've added a function that allows you to import point clouds into Twinmotion as well. So you can bring those point clouds in to 3D and visualize them inside of Twinmotion. Now, one thing to note about that is it doesn't currently support the path tracing mode as far as I know. So just be aware that there are some things with the point cloud that maybe won't interact with the path tracing, but point cloud import is now available in this new version. So in addition, they've also added the ability to bring in multiple different CAD types at once. So you can bring in files or you can bring in external models from different programs. So things like Revit and SketchUp and Rhino, all those different programs, you can bring them into a singular scene now. So for those of you that use a 3D mouse, support for that 3D connection space mouse has been added as well. All right, and so another thing that I'm really excited about, this is something I actually talked about in my video earlier, I think it was this week, where I talked about if Twinmotion could be the best real-time renderer in 2022. And one of the things I noted is that they needed to expand their architectural asset library. And they're currently adding new assets to their asset library, which is going to allow you to quickly add these assets to your scenes. So you can access the ones that they've added, it looks like, by going to Furniture, Home, under Living Room Chairs, kitchen chairs, and tables. So I don't know if you noticed in that video, they also noted that they're going to be adding new assets every month. So I don't know exactly what this means. I didn't see any additional information about this, but the addition of more architectural assets, I think, is really going to make Twinmotion more of a force in this area. I think they've had the Megascans assets, which were a little more game focused in the past, but if they're going to start expanding this library, that's going to make this more and more attractive. And then one of the other things that's going to make this more and more attractive is, in addition, Megascans is also giving you access to 3D plants and decals, so you can access those directly inside of Twinmotion as well. So Megascans plants is going to be a huge addition in here. I have not had a chance to play around with these yet, but just looking at some of the things that they're doing inside of the scene with making the plants look a little bit more realistic. So this one, for example, you can see how it's kind of adding this like decal look on top of the plants. So if you can truly combine those together to customize your plants, that's going to be a very powerful tool. So I'm really excited to play with this a little bit more. I need to get in there and mess with it, but this is something that I'm really excited about as well. So in addition, there's a couple other things that they note in the release notes, which I think could be big changes in there that are usability improvements. So one of them especially is an improvement on the Gizmo on imported objects. I know in the past when you brought imported objects in, sometimes the actual like movement Gizmo got placed a long way away from your actual object. There's now going to be an option here to center the pivot tool. So basically what that's going to do is that's going to relocate the Gizmo so that it's in the middle of those selected objects. So if you've ever lost the Gizmo way away from your imported objects, this should fix that problem. So there's now a minimal UI mode, meaning you can move, select, and delete objects in full screen mode without all the extra interfaces, and you can use keyboard shortcuts in order to do that. That's all listed in the release notes here. They've also improved the snow shader, so the snow shader is now going to look better, as well as they've improved the decals inside of the scenes. I haven't had a chance to test this one out yet, so we'll have to see what that actually does, but it does give you some additional things that you can change and adjust having to do with your decals. All right, so leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about this new release. I am super excited about it. I think it could be a huge release for Twinmotion, but I'd love to hear from you and what you think about it. As always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this, and I will catch you in the next video. Thanks, guys.